really changed up. She got her weight up. She's good in the hood, her haters salty. She got her own whip. She own her own business.
What's up, everybody? And my bad, I'm like still getting myself together, but welcome back to my channel. I'm Spirit of More, and that's it. I'm Spirit of More. But so I'm doing this little, I don't know why I say little. I gotta stop using that word when I describe some stuff. But I'm doing this series where I'm literally like processing the things that have affected me in my childhood. Well, processing the things that I had to deal with in my childhood that have affected me in my adult life. Yeah, I think that's how you say it. So, last video I talked about relationships. And even since then, like, it's only been a week and I've still like seen like other things with the relationships, kind of probably because like everything deals with relationships. Like, they don't always have to be like intimate or sexual or anything like that. Like, just dealing with people is like dealing with relationships or whatever. So yeah, I've been paying attention to that like a lot. But we'll get into that another time, maybe. I don't know. But so the next thing that I wanted to talk about was, I guess not even I guess, like it deals with relationships too. So when it comes to like abandonment, like that's a huge thing, because a lot of us have been abandoned, whether it be by a mother, or whether it be by a father, or whether it be by just somebody that we like had a bond with, you know. And so for me, I wasn't taught how to properly deal with abandonment situations. For me, it was my father. But it's just like, there's been things that have transpired over time that, you know what I'm saying, now I understand, or I see things differently. I can't necessarily say that I understand his point of view completely, because I never really got to talk to him about a lot of things. But I understand, or not I understand, but I see where his struggle was, my father. And so, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a huge thing. Outside of that, I just feel like there were like certain situations where I felt abandoned. Probably more so like by, at this point, or at a certain point, it just started to be like people that were not like related to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was people that I befriended. Excuse me. It was people that I befriended, or people that befriended me, or whatever the case may be. So it's like, whenever I grew a bond with somebody, to me it was like on an extra serious level. Like, I felt like that person was never gonna leave, never gonna go anywhere. Like, they were always gonna be with me, you know. I never, well, I would say I never was taught how to deal with people leaving my life, but let's just say, like, the way that I was taught to handle that stuff is to just, like, it wasn't good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was taught to, and again, when I say that I was taught, it wasn't necessarily like conversations that were had. Sorry, yeah, like, I'm cold, but I'm getting something to drink right now. But, yeah, so it wasn't necessarily that I was, that I had conversations with family members or whatever the case may be. Like, we didn't talk a lot in my family, and that's gonna be probably something that I revisit as far as like that goes. I'm pouring my drink. But when it comes to abandonment, as it pertains to what I grew up with, being taught, it ties into relationships. Simply because, like, I was taught that when, you know what I'm saying, like when people abandon you, that you chase after these people, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, you beg these people to be around you, you beg these people to come back into your life, or you try to prove to yourself that you're good enough, you know, and it becomes it is a toxic situation. It doesn't become one, like it already is once you feel like you have to prove yourself to somebody else. You should never have to prove yourself to somebody else in the sense of how do I explain it? Because like there are some times where you should have to prove yourself to people. Like if you're trying to if you're somebody that's trying to be in somebody's life, then yes, you should prove yourself to that person. Like, prove to me why I should allow you back in my life, right? But this, when we're talking about like abandonment and stuff like that, it's not that type of situation. It's literally a situation where somebody has chosen to walk away, or you know what I'm saying, like whatever that case may be, and you feel like you did something wrong. Now, don't get me wrong, there are situations where, yeah, you did maybe do something wrong, but it all still ties back into other situations where maybe you weren't fully aware of how to deal with those types of situations. But that being the case for me, how I got over that, and I won't even say how I got over it, like how I started to process and heal from it. For one, like I said, it was with my father. So there would be times where we would talk, and then I could feel his tone of voice, like when we wrote, because a lot of our communication came from when he was in prison. So I could feel how he was like writing to me when you know what I'm saying, and responding to like situations that I told him about and stuff like that. Sorry, I just glanced. I have Kevin Gates playing, so my bad. But how I started to process that was, I had to figure out how I felt. You know, I had to figure out how it made me feel. I'm so sorry. But, yeah, I had to figure out how I felt. Then on top of that, I had to realize that it wasn't my fault. Because I used to always question, you know, like, why isn't he around? And I had this art teacher that, like, she was dope, but I was at a Catholic school, so, like, whatever. But she was hella dope. And so the whole class ended up finding out that she smoked weed. Like, but she was hella cool though. Like, you had to know that she smoked weed. I wasn't really brought up in that type of like life where I just, you know what I'm saying, people around me smoked weed or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, my cousin smoked and whatnot. Like, we smoked cigarettes and blacks and stuff. But at the end of the day, like, I didn't know what weed was at first or whatever. So we found out that our teacher smoked weed due to a certain situation. And I remember her telling me that, like, it's not my fault. I can't blame myself for people who walk out of my life. And that meant a lot because, for one, I was in high school at that point. So of course I started like experiencing being in relationships and stuff like that. Excuse me. Then on top of that, dealing, you know what I'm saying, I had dealt with friendships where I felt like people just like walked away from me, and I'm like, damn, like I'm a genuine ass friend, like why are people doing me like this, and whatever the case may be. So like I had to learn that everybody is not in your life to stay, first and foremost. Like everybody is not in your life to stay. So you know what I'm saying, you gotta just let people go when it's their time to go, whether it be that you're a hindrance to them or they're a hindrance to you. A lot of times you're gonna find out that a lot of times you're gonna find out that they're a hindrance to you, simply because a lot of people just come into our lives to teach us things. And where the cycle comes in is when we don't want to learn lessons because we get attached to people and we feel like, you know, nobody's ever supposed to leave us. But at the end of the day, they're really just supposed to teach us something about ourselves, you know. So when it comes to abandonment, again, I realize that I do like abandon people, but not on purpose. It's because I've started to realize that sometimes people are only going to learn so much from you, and you're only going to learn so much from other people or a specific person. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to that, abandonment is not necessarily a bad thing. You just have to learn the lesson, especially depending on who. No, it doesn't even depend on who it is. Abandonment is still a learning lesson. Oh, that doesn't. Abandonment is still something that you're supposed to learn from, and although it seems like it's like a bad thing, it's not. You just have to learn to deal with it, in the sense of who abandoned you. What did you learn from this person, and what can you learn from this person walking out of your life? You know what I'm saying? So excuse me, y'all. It's like, what time is it? It's literally 3:36 in the morning, and I'm doing this video. So forgive me, because I'm like tired, but I have to do this video. But anyways, yeah. So abandonment is not necessarily a bad thing. However, I'll go ahead and tie this in. It all ties in, honestly. Now that I'm looking at my list, it all ties into relationships. So when you're in relationships, like, okay, for instance, I was married at one point. To be honest, like, yeah, I'm still on papers with this person. However, a piece of paper can't tell me who I, you know what I'm saying, have a connection with. So whatever, we'll get into that another time. But haven't been around this person in like years, so at the end of the day, it is what it is. But when it comes to abandonment in that sense, I had to realize, because for one, I got married for the wrong reason, you know what I'm saying. But I'm glad, because I didn't just jump to this decision with other people, because it could have ended up a lot worse, you know what I'm saying, to maybe where I wouldn't have been able to get out of it or whatever. So when it comes to that situation or those types of situations, you realize that it's something like in you. I had to realize that it was something in me that was attracting, for one, these types of people, and then for two, once they weren't doing what they were supposed to do, or in my mind, you know what I'm saying, once I realized that they just weren't going to benefit my greater good and the greater good of my children or whatever, then I had to let these people go. Simply because it's like y'all are abandoning the what's the word for it? I don't know the word for it right now. But in my mind, I was already abandoned once certain things took place. Like, once you start ignoring things that I say as far as how I feel, or I'm one of them people that I don't try to prolong situations. So it's like, if I'm not feeling something, if something don't feel right to me, I'm gonna let you know, and then it's just a matter of time before it becomes like a real ass issue. So abandonment, as it pertains to like companionship and stuff like that, I used to take that really hard because I thought something was wrong with me. No, don't get me wrong, I do have a few issues. But it comes to a point in time where you realize like it's not you per se. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to learn something from this situation. So once I finally got to that point, I was able to deal with things better. You know what I'm saying? Like I was able to be like, okay, let me pause, let me figure this out and figure out the best way to go about this, if it's safe or whatever for me to continue, you know what I'm saying, or if I'm supposed to benefit this person more, or if they're supposed to benefit me more, or if I'm just being stupid and if we're both just being toxic to each other, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, like that's that on that. I did just recently have a situation where I felt like, I guess you can kind of say I feel like somebody abandoned me. But once again, this is also why I had to look within myself, like, okay, why do you feel like this person is abandoning you? And really, they're not. You, like, I'm the type of person that's like, do what's best for you. Like, I just want you to do what's best for you. So with that, I had to check myself, because it's like, yo, you told this person to do what's best for them, they did what's best for them, and now you sitting here talking about they abandoned you. Like, that shit don't make sense. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, like, it was a learning lesson for me, because this particular person, I feel like, is like me. So I had to start looking like, okay, what do I need to do as far as, and this ties into like self-love too, which that's a whole, matter of fact, my bad, that's a whole nother topic. Let me write that down. But yeah, that ties into self-love too, because it's not that I don't love myself, but like, I just feel like sometimes we love other people the way that we're supposed to be loving ourselves. So that was a wake-up call, and it still is a wake-up call. Like, even though I do love this person genuinely, anybody that I love, like, I love genuinely, you know what I'm saying? But we'll get into that. But yeah, so abandonment is not necessarily a bad thing, honestly. You just have to learn what you're supposed to learn, and you have to analyze the situations. But yeah, that's that on that, and I will definitely catch y'all, because I don't be wanting these videos to be long, but I'm like looking at the timer and this is almost 20 minutes, and I really wasn't trying to be on here that long, recording this long. So I'll definitely get back to this. Sorry y'all, my nail is, yeah, I need to fix that. But yeah. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Hopefully it's not 20 minutes, but yeah, peace out.